All right, let's talk about something we've all experienced, that new car smell. You know the one. We're going to figure out what it actually is and why, on a hot day, it suddenly gets so much stronger. I want you to picture this. It's the middle of summer. Your car's been sitting in a parking lot, basically cooking. You open the door, and this wave of heat just smacks you in the face. And you know that feeling, right? You jump in wearing shorts, and the seat is so hot you practically leap back up. Yeah, we've all been there. But that insane heat? That's just where our story begins. Because right along with that heat, you get that smell. It's this really pungent, kind of chemical, almost sweet and sour thing. Car makers always say, oh, it's normal, it'll go away. But what is it, really? And is it actually okay for you to be breathing it in? Well, that's the case we're cracking open today. Yeah, we're calling this one the summer poison gas mystery. Because when your car basically turns into an oven, it starts releasing this cocktail of chemicals into a tiny sealed box. So let's start the investigation and look at our prime suspect. Turns out the main culprit is hiding in plain sight, or, well, right underneath you. It's that huge chunk of foam inside your car seats. And from now on, we're going to call it the chemical bread that you're sitting on. So the technical name for this stuff is polyurethane seat foam, or PU foam. Now, get this. In a normal car, there's between 15 and 25 kilograms of it. I mean, that is a massive amount of one single material to have inside your car. And this is the perfect way to think about it, seriously. Imagine a giant loaf of bread. It's porous, right? It's got a massive surface area inside all those little holes. And what happens when you toast it? It releases smells. Well, your car seat foam is the exact same thing. It's a giant porous sponge that literally breathes out chemicals whenever it gets hot. So, why are we so sure this bread is our number one suspect? Well, there are three reasons, and they all kind of amplify each other. First, just the sheer volume of it. We're talking 15 to 25 kilos of the stuff. Second, proximity. You're sitting right on it, less than half a meter from your nose. And third, the real kicker, heat. In the sun, your seats can easily hit 70, even 80 degrees Celsius. You're literally baking those chemicals right out of the foam. And hey, this isn't just some theory we cooked up. The data is crystal clear. Research shows that seat foam is responsible for a huge chunk, somewhere between 30 and 50%, of all the volatile organic compounds, or VOCs, inside your car. VOCs are just chemicals that turn into gas really easily, so you can breathe them in. And as you can see here, the seat foam is by far the biggest source of the problem. Okay, so if this foam is such a big issue, you're probably wondering, why don't car makers just use a better, cleaner version? Well, that leads us right to the motive. It all comes down to this invisible war being fought between cost and your health. You know, for the manufacturers, it really boils down to this simple choice. They can use a cheaper foam and save a little bit of money on every single car they build, or they can spend just a little bit more to use a low VOC foam that actually protects the driver. The difference in cost is surprisingly small, but the difference in the air you breathe, it's huge. This table lays it all out pretty clearly. At the bottom, you've got your traditional TDI foam, high VOC risk. You'll find this in a lot of economy cars. But look at this. For just a 15 to 25% cost increase, they can switch to a low VOC foam and that risk drops dramatically. Then you've got the really good stuff, MDI foam, in luxury cars, which has a very low risk but costs more. The main point here is that a small investment from the car maker makes a massive difference in air quality for you. So what happens when a car brand makes the wrong choice in this little cost war? Let me tell you a real-world story about that. We're calling it the 50 million yuan lesson. So here's what happened. A car brand launched a hot new model, and it was super popular. But pretty soon, the complaints started flooding in. Owners were talking about this awful, sharp smell that was giving them headaches. People were saying their kids felt sick in the back seat. The company was looking at a total disaster. So their engineers basically had to become detectives. First, they rip out all the carpet. The VOC level drops a tiny bit, but it's still way too high. Okay, so next, they remove the entire dashboard. Still no luck. Finally, they take out the seats, and boom, the VOC levels just plummet by more than half. They found their smoking gun. Case closed. And here is the punchline. The total cost of all the recalls, the warranty work, and the damage to their brand's reputation because of this one mistake? 50 million yuan. They tried to save a couple hundred yuan per car on foam, and it ended up costing them an absolute fortune. So, now that we've solved the mystery, how can you, the person buying the car, use all this info to protect yourself? Don't worry, we put together a quick, scam-proof guide just for you. All right, this is your cheat sheet. First, do not trust the smell of a car in an air-conditioned showroom. That's useless. Ask the salesperson to let you sit in a car that's been parked outside in the sun for a while. That's the real test. Second, ask for the data. See if the car has any official air quality ratings or certifications. And third, and this is so important, just because you can't smell anything doesn't mean it's safe. Some of the nastiest VOCs, like benzene, are pretty much odorless at low levels. So the real takeaway is this. For a car maker, spending that extra couple hundred yuan on better foam isn't really a cost. It's an insurance policy. It's insurance that protects their customers' health, and it's insurance that saves them from a potential 50 million yuan nightmare. It's just smart business. Okay, last thing. Let's get super practical. What can you do right now with the car you already have when it's just scorching hot outside? It's actually really simple. Ventilate. Before you even think about getting in, open up all the doors for just a few minutes. Let that concentrated cloud of chemicals air out. Then hop in, turn on the AC, and make sure it's set to pull in fresh air from the outside, not just recirculate the nasty air that's already in there. That one simple habit can make a huge difference. And that really brings us to the final thought here. Every car has that big chemical bread under the seats. The only real difference is whether it's the cheap, smelly kind or the safer, low-odor kind. And the answer to that question tells you a whole lot about whether the manufacturer was willing to spend the money and do the hard work in the places that you can't even see. And sometimes what you can't see matters the most.